So where can we find the reports that actually have the fossils of those wells?
Well, when you're hired by Exxon, you'll have access to those. You have to pay a lot of money for those.
Okay.
Right? I mean, those reports are rarely, companies like Paleo Data sell them. You know, you buy them from vendors that have done this careful work.
Okay.
I want to make a comment.
You have to question every bit of information that you have.
Yeah, Edward,
Go ahead, Ed.
I like to make an observation about the paleo. We don't know if each one of these wells on which you have some paleo was a complete well worked from spud to TD, or was just a particular part of the section that they were interested in, and that's all they worked. I know whenever we were at Shell, we always submitted to the government the bare minimum of data.
There you go.
The bare minimum of data. And I think most of the other companies did the same thing. Why give the government too much?
And that, as you say, almost any business-oriented oil company will meet the minimum requirements. So
exactly.
The government says you only need to give us one log. Guess what they're going to give you? Gamma ray resistivity. They're not going to give you density. They've got the dip meter, but they're not going to give you the dip meter. You know, Mr. Chris always asks about mud logs. They're not going to give you the mud log. That costs a lot of money to get that mud log. So they meet the minimum government requirements. The legal department makes sure of that.
Another observation too is that of the wells that you have paleo on in this area, each of these wells work by the same consultancy, or does it represent work by 4 or 5 different consultancies? Because everyone will pick things a little bit different, maybe not too far off, but it will be a variation.
Well, actually, in the reports that we received, there was a top repeated, so we can say around 2 or 3 companies did it separately. We have chosen, we have displayed them in Excel and chosen the most relative trend for each of them. Mm-hmm. So like we have 2 or 3 companies, one says it's here, one says it's here. We have displayed them on a chart and seen the range that's most suitable for the change of the fossil.
Anybody else, Mr. Picou? Any other comments to the teams? We saw a few bug names today.
Yeah, that discoaster is in the very upper Pliocene.
You know, it looked to me like it was spelled. Is it not Preterpentaradius? Is that not?
Penta means it's got 5 rays like a star.
Yeah.
Discoaster pentaradius.
Yeah. Yeah, but it is tough. Some of those are real mouthfuls, which is why, you know, people usually have short names. All these bugs, we have short names, you know, and like.
That's true.
Some of them are fun, you know, and that's why, for example, TexW, right? That's Textularia warreni or warreni, whatever.
Warreni.
But, you know, once you get used to the Gulf of Mexico, people say TexW, and you can tell an experienced Gulf of Mexico geologist because they'll say TexW. The ones who are still trying to pronounce the whole names, that's the new ones. That's the new kids arriving. But I got to tell you, one of my favorite fossils. So first of all, there's the fossil called Bulliminella, right? Bulliminella 1. And so, of course, after experience, people call it Bull 1. That's it. So people refer to Bull 1. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Picou, right? Bull 1.
Middle Pliocene.
Right. But my favorite fossil was the one which was called Climbing Bull 1. And so I remember one time somebody drew me a little cartoon of a ladder and this bull climbing the ladder. So that's Climbing Bull 1. But climbing means something. There's a reason they call it Climbing Bull 1. So I'm going to let Mr. Picou explain that.
Well, a lot of these organisms, of course, they are protozoans, and just like you and me, we live in a certain environment. They also prefer a certain environment. And when the environment moves, they move with that environment. So you have to be careful of using organisms that are so dependent on the environment. That's why we like to define certain fossils that we know have a particular extinction point. We know in younger sediments they'll never be found. So those are the guide fossils. Those that climb in the section, so to speak, they're good for environmental determinations only.
So I'll do a quick illustration. I'm not drawing the bull climbing the ladder because I don't draw that well, but I will show you exactly what Mr. Picou was talking about because it is a very key point. So I'm using my trusty colored pencils. Students these days have never heard of pencils. They don't know what to do with them. But I'm going to show you here, real quick diagram on the fly. There we go. So what we're saying here is that here are these layers. These are timelines. And of course, as geologists, we want to follow timelines, and especially because the seismic follows these things. But as Mr. Picou just said, if you have certain facies and whatever, we'll just say this is a facies. And as in this case, I guess sea level rises, that facies crosses the timeline.
Exactly.
So old climbing bull 1, you might, if you drill here, you're going to find climbing bull 1 here. Then you're going to find climbing bull 1 there. Then you're going to find it there. And so our new inexperienced geologist is going to draw a line like this. He's going to say, well, I used the bugs, and look, I came up with this line for my timeline. And then the geophysicist is going to beat them over the head and say, well, you're wrong because my seismic is showing me that the lines are doing this. So anyway, that's the story behind climbing bull 1. And of course, others do that.
Well done, Alan.
Okay.
Well done.